Hello students, welcome back to another video. In this video we will be going over chapter 9 section 6. Estimate lengths in meters. Essential question: how do you estimate the lengths of objects in meters? So think back to our previous lesson about measuring using meters. Meters is the biggest of the three that we've learned. So we've learned inches, centimeters, and meters. Meters is going to be the biggest of the three. So what are some objects that you can think of that you can measure with a meter? So in the last lesson we measured the wall using meters. We measured a chalkboard using meters. So really big objects are what we're going to use. So how do you estimate those lengths? Estimate is like an educated guess. So if you know that the wall is 10 meters in length, you can kind of estimate how long a table is going to be. If you think maybe 4 tables are equal to the length of that wall, then you know you have to subtract in order to figure out the length of that table. So basically, you can use other objects as well as a measuring tape or a meter ruler to measure. And we're going to get more practice doing that in this lesson. So listen and draw. Find an object that is about 10 centimeters long. Draw and label it. So this first top box is asking you to look around where you are and find something that is 10 centimeters long. So you may want to bring a ruler with you with the centimeter side, or an object that you've already measured that you can use. So if you know how big a paperclip is, you can use many paper clips to estimate something that is 10 centimeters long. So once you find the object, draw a picture of it and label the measurement on the picture. For the next one, is there a classroom object that is about 50 centimeters long? Draw and label it. So this is asking you to look around where you are and see if you can find another object that is 50 centimeters long. That's going to be 5 times bigger than the first object that you drew. So do the same thing. Draw the object and label the measurements. And then also, if you would like to share with the class, feel free to comment below what item you chose. And if you can include your name in the comment or leave it anonymous. Okay class, we are now on page 466. Model and draw. Estimate. About how many meter sticks will match the width of a door? So this one is asking us to estimate this example. So the width is the horizontal part of the door. So where this arrow is showing from left to right, that's the width of the door. So how many meter sticks will match the width of the door? And remember, 1 meter stick is the same as 100 centimeters. So 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So knowing this information, how many meters do you think make up the width of this door? Take a second and see if you can think of an answer. So the width of this door will probably be no bigger than 1 meter, because 1 meter is 100 centimeters. And if you measure the width of the door, you will see that it should be somewhere around 1 meter. Share and show. Find the real object. Estimate its length in meters. So this bookshelf is what they're asking you to measure for number 1. So estimate, make an educated guess of what you think the length of this bookshelf is in meters. So if you have a bookshelf that looks about the same size, you can measure that in centimeters and then convert it to meters. Remember, we did that in the lesson yesterday. Now for number 2, the bulletin board. You may have a bulletin board at home, you may not have one at home. Think back to the one in your classroom. The bulletin board. Try to remember the size of that board and make an educated guess about how big it is in meters. Work on numbers 1 and 2 now. Alright class, let's go over some possible answers. So your answers will most likely be different than mine. It really depends because it's an educated guess or an estimate. So there's no real true answer to this question. So I think this bookshelf is going to be about 2 meters. Just by looking at it, I think it's going to be 2 meters long. For the bulletin board, I think it's going to be smaller than the bookshelf, so I'm going to say 1 meter for the bulletin board. Now you may have 3 meters for your bulletin board. As long as, well, you could have 10 meters, but that's going to be a very big bulletin board. Alright. Class, we are now on page 467. On your own, find the real object and estimate its length in meters. So now we will be working on our own again, just like we did in the previous page for numbers 3 through number 6. Now you may not have a teacher's desk near you, so you're just going to have to think back to your memory of your teacher's desk and think about how big your teacher's desk is. And then guess, make a real good guess about how big you think it is in meters. How many meters do you think this desk will be in length? And then for number 4, the wall. If you look at this picture, this is the wall that they want you to measure. So you can think about how many meter sticks you think will fit if you put them next to each other all the way across the wall, and make an educated guess. For number 5, the window. So this window, really they're not giving us much information on the size, so it's going to be a very educated guess. It could be a big window, it could be a small window. So we'll have to discuss this one later. The chalkboard, for number 6, think back to the chalkboard in your classroom, or maybe if you have a chalkboard at your home. So go ahead and make an educated guess about how many meters do you think the chalkboard is. Pause the video and work on this now. Alright class, let's go over the answers. So we are all going to have different answers most likely. But if we really try hard thinking back to how big our teacher's desk is, we can sort of assume that it's 2 at most meters. I would say maybe 2 meters. Maybe somebody put 3 meters. Maybe somebody put 1 meter, somewhere around that range. For the wall is going to be a lot bigger than the desk. I'm going to say that maybe we can fit maybe 5 desks next to each other to make the length of this wall. So 5 times 2. If we just do 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, we get a total of 10 meters. So somewhere around there, you could have put 8 meters, maybe 6 meters. So it has to be a lot bigger than the desk, of course. Now the window, this looks like a smaller window to me, but there's no reference, so we can't see how big this window is. So really any number can fit here, to be honest with you, because there's no reference. There's all sorts of different kinds of windows out there. So for this one, I'm just going to put 5 meters. And the chalkboard now, number 6. The chalkboard in our class is pretty much a little bigger than the teacher's desk, I think. So I'm going to just give it 1 more meter than the teacher's desk and say 3. And these are my educated guesses, but yours are also just as right as mine, because they're a guess. You're just guessing based on what you remember. So there's no 100% right answer for these. But if you put, for the chalkboard, if you put like 30 meters, for example, that's not an educated guess. That's not reasonable. That's not an estimate. That's just a wild guess that you just put out there. It's not even close. So it has to be close in order for it to be educated. Students, we are now on page 468. Problem-solving applications. Number 7. In meters, estimate the distance from your teacher's desk to the door of your classroom. About how many meters will that be? Okay, so for this question, it's going to be a little more challenging because we are not in the classroom right now to measure that distance. So what we need to do is use our imagination. If you want to close your eyes for this, it might help more. Use your imagination. Think back to being inside your classroom. All your classmates are in class with you, and you're seated at your desk, and we're doing math right now in the classroom. So pretend that you're in the classroom right now doing math. All your classmates are around you sitting in their seats. So look at the teacher's desk in your imagination. And then look at the door of the classroom in your imagination. About how far away is the teacher's desk to that door of your classroom? What do you think, using your imagination, about how many meter sticks or how many meters do you think you will need to count to reach the door from the teacher's desk? So try your best to make an educated guess and then explain what you did to get that estimate. So 1 or 2 sentences writing about how you knew to write that answer for number 7. Pause the video and work on that now. Alright class, let's go over the answer. So we have different size classrooms for the different students because this video is for 3 different classes. So it's going to be different for all of us, for all of our different students. So our answers are going to be different. And for Mrs. Smith's class, I think it would be about 5 meters. For Mrs. Graff, maybe 4 meters. And for Mr. Jimenez, maybe another 5 meters because it's sort of like Mrs. Smith's. So anywhere like 5, 6 meters in that range. 7 meters maybe. And then explain how you got your estimate. So if you would like, go ahead and write down your answer in the comment section below. Just write the number 7 so that we know that this is the answer for number 7. So a possible answer you could have written is something like, I looked at the distance and thought about how many meter sticks be able to lay end to end in order to fill the distance. So what that means is that you looked, using your imagination, at the desk and the door and thought about how many meter sticks you would be able to put right next to each other in between the door and the teacher's desk. And that's how you did it. Number 8, estimate the length of an adult's bicycle. Fill in the bubble next to all the sentences that are true. So for number 8, there could be more than one that is true. So here's the adult bicycle, and we are just going to estimate, which means an educated guess, about how long you think this bicycle is going to be. And then you're going to fill in the bubble next to the sentences that are true. So work on number 8 now. Okay, class, let's go over the answer. So you should have circled the first 2 bubbles. So the bicycle is about 2 meters long. So if you think about the bicycle, it's about 2 times the width of a door. So if you remember at the beginning of the lesson, the width of the door was 1 meter. So if you think about putting 2 doors next to each other, is that about the same size of a bicycle? I think so, it's pretty close. And now we circle the second one because 200 centimeters is equal or the same as 2 meters. And none of the other answers make sense. 200 meters is way too big. And 2 centimeters is way too small. Less than 1 meter is too small as well. This is probably for like a doll. Okay, class, that concludes our lesson today. Well done, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next section. Take care.